It was 10 years ago that the Elke family joined here at Faith Lutheran, Mike and Janelle and their boys Leo and Lyndon. And I remember that because in 2012, Janelle was on our prayer chain. And she had been suffering migraines and then found out that she had had a brain tumor and had gone blind. And through the prayers of the church and through your compassion and empathy and surgery and the medical care, Janelle recovered. And so we are so grateful and thankful. Then a year later, we get the call that Mike is going through that same journey and finding out that he had a brain tumor and loss of the vision of sight. And with Mike, and some of you know, he'll share more of a background about being in higher education, the superintendent of a school, having to step away from that as a career to work on healing, and then having to do a pivot and having to do a reset. And so tonight, listen to where God is moving in the midst. I wish we had more than just this time to hear the full story. We just hear little snapshots and little snippets. But we want to create opportunities where we can hear more of some of these faith journey stories. So would you please help welcome Mike Elke.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Michael Elke is what my professional name is. My friends call me Doc. There's a lot of people that call me a lot of other things too, but I'm not going to get into that part. Pastor Kevin called and said, why don't you come by and share some of your faith journey? It's like, okay, yeah, no problem. I've done it before, other churches and things. So he said, how much time do you need? I said, oh, probably 45 minutes, max. And then he said, then you get 7. Like, oh my goodness. So since then, that was about a month and a half ago, I've been thinking about how I can pack 50 years into 7 minutes. There's been a lot of head banging against the wall trying to figure out how we can kind of summarize everything. And basically I just figured out we'll do what Moses did. We'll start in the beginning and then we'll go from there. I've had a blessed life. I've coached for 2 Major League ball teams. I've got a doctorate. I've got a fantastic family. And I think it's all been set up by God. God has been working with me the whole time. Just like Pastor said, a snapshot. So within the first 4 years of my life, growing up in northeast North Dakota on a farm, I had been concussed, been beaten, lost my vision, and had been the poster boy for what would become Crohn's disease. And that was all in the first 4 years. As it started out, I had full vision, but my mother was a little bit, let's say, a little rough around the edges for being a parent, and beat my head against a steel heating register when I was 2. Lost my eye, lost consciousness, things of that nature. So that was kind of how things started for me. And I would call that one of the biggest blessings I've ever had. Second of all was being the poster boy for Crohn's disease, because at that time in the early 70s, there was not such a thing as Crohn's disease. So I've got all of these things going on with joints and gut pain and all the things that go with Crohn's. It's a happy disease. The 56 colonoscopies that I've had over the last 45 years, those are a lot of fun. Clean as a whistle every time. So in the month and a half that I had to prepare for this, I thought I'd whip out something, and I came up with something about 3 seconds ago. So we'll go from that point. And kind of touching on what I had said earlier about having God working for me or through me, I want to talk a little bit about how God creates purpose in us. I've spent my whole life wondering, God, what is my purpose? What am I here for? What am I supposed to do? But then when I actually stepped back and looked a little bit, it's like, yeah, I think there's more than one thing that I would say I was put here for. The reason, I think, for all of the heartache and trauma growing up and all the pain, that allowed me to basically really empathize with anybody. Somebody once said I could talk with kings and walk with peasants. It's like, thanks, I think, but there's probably some truth to that. I can empathize with just about anybody, with just about any category or factor of what's hurting them or how life has got too much for them or situations like that. We all have stress, a lot of stress, especially recently with COVID and everything. We've all got issues. One of the purposes I think that I was put here is as a teacher for the last 150 years or so, it seems like. I've had an opportunity to meet and to help 6 children, 6 kids that would have otherwise not been here right now had they not come and told me their story. So that's a pretty big deal. And if it's a little pain and suffering for me on the front end, I'll take it every time. But with the world the way it is, not everybody can adapt to it. Not everybody can, feel good about themselves every day. So that certainly became one of the foundations of my purpose, maybe what God put me here to do. It wasn't about me, I just figured that out. It was about me helping other people. It's about putting other people first. It's not about making excuses about my pain and suffering. It's about trying to help other people through theirs. As a baseball coach, one of my favorite phrases is, rub some dirt on it. Usually that doesn't go over too well, but that's kind of what I do. I rub dirt on it, and I'm better for it. So all of these things that I've been through have been a blessing to me, and I've been able to help other people through that. It's just a little bit different way of looking at life in terms of how are we supposed to go from one day to the next. What is our purpose? And not being selfish, not being narcissistic, but open to everybody, because everybody's got problems. And one thing I realized too at an early age is God never gives us more than we can handle. But I also realized that if there are some cases where there are some things that people can't handle, that I'm a conduit, and I'm a conduit for Him, because if I can lead people to God through my experiences, I'll do it in a second. And in today's society, with seems like Satan knocking on the door all the time, if I can help to bring people to God as fast as He's taking people away, sign me up. I'll be there for anybody at any time, and that's, I think, what my purpose has been. Now, because I've only got a short amount of time, I think this is going to have to be like a 7-episode series. So either that or wait for the book to come out, I guess. But it's been a pleasure to be here tonight, and I want to thank everybody and have a fantastic Easter season.